The lawyer's voice echoed through the phone while I was wiping down Mom's favorite porcelain figurines, the ones I'd been dusting every single week for the past 12 years. I froze. I'm sorry, Sarah, but according to your parents' will, the house, the savings, and all assets have been left to your sister, Jennifer. I couldn't breathe. The phone nearly slipped from my trembling hand. That's impossible, I whispered. There must be a mistake. But there was no mistake. After 20 years of sacrificing everything, my career, my relationships, my own life, to care for my aging parents, they had left me absolutely nothing. Let me back up and tell you how I got here. My name is Sarah Mitchell, and I'm 42 years old. For the past 2 decades, I've been the dutiful daughter. The one who showed up. The one who put her life on hold. It started when I was 22, fresh out of college with a degree in graphic design and a job offer at a prestigious firm in New York City. I was packed and ready to go. My apartment was secured. My new life was waiting. Then Dad had his first stroke. Sarah, honey, we need you, Mom said over the phone, her voice cracking. Your father can't move his left side. Jennifer has her career in LA, and we can't ask her to leave everything. But you're just starting out. You can come back, can't you? Just starting out. As if my dreams were somehow less important. But I came back. I told myself it would be temporary. 6 months, maybe a year. That was 20 years ago. I moved into my childhood bedroom. I took a part-time graphic design job that I could do from home. I became Dad's full-time caregiver, helping him with physical therapy, managing his medications, driving him to endless doctor appointments. When he recovered enough to be semi-independent, Mom started showing signs of dementia. The disease came on slowly at first. She'd forget where she put her keys. She'd repeat the same story twice in one conversation. Then it got worse. Much worse. By the time I was 30, she didn't remember what day it was. By 35, she sometimes didn't remember who I was. By 40, she needed round-the-clock care. I bathed her. I fed her. I changed her when she had accidents. I held her hand through the frightening moments when she didn't recognize her own home. I sang her the lullabies she used to sing to me. And where was Jennifer during all of this? My older sister, the golden child, was living her best life in California. She was a successful real estate agent with a beautiful home, a handsome husband, and 2 perfect children. She visited maybe twice a year, usually for major holidays, and stayed for no more than 3 days. Oh, Sarah, you're such a saint, she'd say, breezing through the house in her designer clothes and expensive perfume. I just don't know how you do it. I could never handle all this mess. She called our parents' deteriorating health a mess. But she'd sit with Mom for an hour, post a dozen photos on social media about what an amazing daughter she was, and then disappear back to her perfect life. Meanwhile, I watched my own life slip away. I never got married. I never had children. I never traveled. I never pursued the career I'd dreamed of. My days blurred together in an endless cycle of medications, doctor visits, meals, and laundry. My friends stopped calling after a few years. They got tired of me canceling plans. They moved on with their lives, got married, had babies, bought houses. I watched it all happen through social media, feeling like a ghost haunting my own life. But I told myself it was worth it. I told myself my parents would appreciate my sacrifice. I told myself that when the time came, they would make sure I was taken care of, not financially, necessarily, but at least they would acknowledge what I had given up. Then Dad died 3 years ago. Mom followed 6 months ago, her dementia finally claiming the last fragments of who she'd been. I planned both funerals. I chose the caskets, the flowers, the music. I wrote the obituaries. I greeted the mourners. I held it together while Jennifer sobbed dramatically in the front row, accepting condolences like she was the devoted daughter who'd been there all along. At Mom's funeral, Jennifer hugged me and whispered, "We should talk about the estate soon. I'm sure they left everything split evenly. You deserve it after everything you've done." I actually believed her. 2 weeks after the funeral, I got the call from the lawyer. Everything, the house worth $600,000, the savings account with nearly $200,000, the investment portfolio, even Mom's jewelry, had been left entirely to Jennifer. I got nothing. Not the house I'd lived in for 20 years. Not a single dollar. Not even a piece of Mom's costume jewelry. The will had been updated 5 years ago. I was listed as having already received substantial support through free housing and living expenses. Free housing. As if I'd been freeloading instead of providing care that would have cost them $15,000 a month in a nursing home. I did the math later. 20 years of professional caregiving would have cost them approximately $3.6 million. Instead, they paid me nothing and then left everything to the daughter who'd barely shown up. My hands shook as I called Jennifer. "Did you know about this?" I demanded. "Sarah, don't be dramatic," she said, and I could hear her dismissive eye roll through the phone. "Mom and Dad probably just figured you were already living rent-free for 2 decades. That's basically the same as an inheritance." Living rent-free? My voice cracked. I was taking care of them. Do you have any idea what I gave up? I had a career, Jennifer. I had a life. Oh, please. You always acted like such a martyr. Nobody forced you to stay. You could have said no. They were our parents. And you chose to put your life on hold. That's not my problem, Sarah. Her voice turned cold. The will is legal. It's done. You're not getting anything, so stop calling me about this. She hung up. I stood there in the empty house, the house that was no longer mine, and something inside me shifted. For 20 years, I'd been the good daughter. The selfless one. The one who sacrificed and smiled and never complained. That woman died in that moment. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I didn't fall apart. Instead, I got very, very calm. The next morning, I called the lawyer back. Is there anything in the will about Mom and Dad's personal effects? Photos, documents, things like that? Those weren't specifically mentioned, he said. Typically, personal effects would go to whoever inherits the estate, but if there are items of sentimental value, the siblings usually work it out between themselves. And the house? When does Jennifer take possession? She has 60 days to decide whether to keep it or sell it. Until then, as the current resident, you have the right to remain there. 60 days. I could work with that. I started in the attic. Mom had been a meticulous record keeper, and I knew exactly where she kept everything. Birth certificates, tax returns, medical records, insurance policies, decades of documentation, all filed away in labeled boxes. I went through every single page. And that's when I found the first interesting document, a loan agreement from 15 years ago. Jennifer had borrowed $50,000 from our parents to invest in her real estate business. According to the contract, she was supposed to pay them back with interest within 5 years. She never had. I kept digging. I found more loan agreements. $20,000 for her wedding. $30,000 when she and her husband bought their first house. $15,000 for a business emergency. In total, Jennifer had borrowed over $120,000 from our parents and hadn't repaid a single cent. But here's where it got interesting. She'd told our parents, I found emails confirming this, that she'd paid them back in cash over the years. She convinced them, especially as Mom's dementia worsened, that all debts were settled. They weren't. I made copies of everything. Every loan agreement, every email, every text message I could find. I organized it all into a neat folder. Then I kept searching. In Mom's desk, I found her old journals. She kept diaries sporadically throughout her life, and I found entries from the years before she updated her will. One entry, dated 6 years ago, made my blood run cold. Jennifer called today. She's worried about her finances, something about the housing market downturn. She asked if we'd considered our will. Said she's concerned about Sarah, that Sarah seems unstable and might not handle money responsibly. She suggested that maybe we should leave the bulk of the estate to her, and she could take care of Sarah if needed. She was so sweet about it, so concerned. Maybe she's right. Sarah does seem stressed lately. Jennifer has always been so good with money. My sister had manipulated our elderly, declining parents into disinheriting me. I photographed every relevant journal entry. Then I started looking into Jennifer's finances. I didn't have to dig too deep, she was remarkably careless on social media. Her Instagram was public, and she loved posting about her lavish lifestyle. Except I started noticing something. Many of her posts were at places she'd tagged, but when I cross-referenced the dates with her credit card statements, yes, I found old statements in Mom's files from when she'd helped Jennifer manage a financial crisis. The locations didn't match up. She was editing her life, creating an illusion of success. I called an old college friend who'd become a private investigator. "Mark, I need a favor. Can you do a financial background check?" 2 weeks later, Mark sent me a report. Jennifer and her husband were drowning in debt. They'd remortgaged their house twice. They had over $200,000 in credit card debt. Her real estate business was barely staying afloat. She'd needed that inheritance desperately. That's when I understood. Jennifer hadn't just passively accepted being the sole heir. She'd actively orchestrated it. She'd manipulated our aging parents, taken advantage of Mom's deteriorating mental state, and pushed me out of the will entirely. She thought I was weak. She thought I'd just accept it and disappear. She had no idea I was already 3 steps ahead. I contacted an elder law attorney, one who specialized in estate disputes and elder abuse. "This is an interesting case," Attorney Rebecca Chin said, reviewing my documentation. "Your sister borrowed substantial sums and never repaid them. She appears to have used your mother's cognitive decline to influence estate planning decisions. And these journal entries suggest possible undue influence. Can we contest the will?" "We can do better than that." Rebecca's smile was sharp. "We can file a claim against Jennifer's inheritance for the unpaid loans, with interest. Those loans are legally enforceable debts. If your parents' estate is valued at $800,000 and Jennifer owes $120,000 plus 15 years of accumulated interest, she's looking at owing approximately $200,000. That's a quarter of the total estate." "Exactly. And if we can prove undue influence, which these journal entries and her financial desperation certainly suggest, we might be able to invalidate the will update entirely and revert to the previous version." She pulled out an older document. "According to this will from 22 years ago, everything was split 50-50 between you and Jennifer." My heart raced. How long will this take? Cases like this typically take 18 months to 2 years. But we can file an injunction immediately to prevent Jennifer from selling or liquidating any assets until the case is resolved. I signed the paperwork that afternoon. Jennifer found out 3 days later when she tried to list the house with her real estate agency and was informed by the title company that there was a legal hold on the property. My phone exploded with messages. "Jennifer, what the hell did you do? Jennifer, you can't do this. The will is legal. Jennifer, I'm calling my lawyer. You're going to regret this. Jennifer, you're just bitter because you wasted your life. This is pathetic." I didn't respond. Not yet. Instead, I started my next move. I created a private Facebook group and invited every single person who'd attended Mom and Dad's funerals. Extended family, old friends, neighbors, former colleagues, everyone. I titled it Remembering Margaret and Tom Mitchell. I posted photos of my parents throughout their lives. I shared stories. I invited others to share their memories. The group grew quickly. People loved having a space to remember my parents. Then, after 2 weeks of building goodwill and community, I made a post. I've been going through Mom's things and found some beautiful old journals. She wrote such loving things about everyone. I wanted to share some passages because they really capture who she was before the dementia took her from us. I posted excerpts from Mom's journals, the genuine, loving ones about family memories and happy times. People loved it. The comments poured in about what a wonderful tribute it was. Then, a week later, I posted another journal entry. This one was from 7 years ago. I'm so confused lately. Jennifer keeps telling me things about Sarah, but I don't remember them. She says Sarah is asking us for money, but Sarah has never asked for anything. Jennifer says we should protect our assets from Sarah, but why would we need protection from our own daughter? I feel like I'm losing my mind. Maybe I am. Maybe Jennifer's right and I just don't remember. The comments stopped. Then they started again, but different this time. Wait, what? This is concerning. Did Jennifer manipulate your mother? I didn't respond to the comments. I just posted another entry, this one from 6 years ago. Jennifer brought papers for us to sign today. She said they were just updates to our will, making things simpler for everyone. Tom signed them without reading, his eyes are so bad now. I tried to read them, but I couldn't focus. The words kept swimming. Jennifer said not to worry, that she'd taken care of everything. But I have this feeling. I can't shake it. Something's wrong. My aunt, Mom's sister, commented, "Sarah, call me immediately." Within an hour, I had messages from a dozen family members. They were horrified. They wanted to know more. Jennifer started her own damage control, posting in the group. These journal entries are being taken completely out of context. Mom was confused because of her dementia. I was only trying to help. Sarah is manipulating all of you just like she's trying to manipulate the legal system. This is defamation. I posted one more entry, my final move in this particular battle. Jennifer borrowed $50,000 today. She says her business is going through a rough patch and she'll pay us back in 6 months. She made me promise not to tell Sarah, said Sarah would judge her for it. I don't understand why sisters can't just support each other. I gave her the money. I hope she'll be okay. Then I commented on my own post. This was one of many loans. The total borrowed was $120,000. According to the loan agreements I found, none of it was ever repaid. Mom's later journal entry suggests she was told it had been repaid in cash, but there are no bank records of any deposits, and Mom's journals from those time periods show no record of receiving payments. Her dementia made it easy to convince her that her memory was just failing. I attached photos of the loan agreements. The group exploded. Family members who'd praised Jennifer at the funeral were now calling her a manipulator and a thief. People shared their own stories of times Jennifer had seemed overly interested in Mom and Dad's finances. Someone remembered Jennifer specifically asking them not to discuss financial matters with me because it stressed Sarah out. My uncle, Dad's brother, posted, "I'm ashamed I didn't see this happening. Sarah, you have our full support." Jennifer left the group. Then she blocked me on all social media. But the damage was done. The family knew the truth. 3 months into the legal battle, Jennifer's lawyer contacted mine with a settlement offer. She'll agree to split the estate 60-40 in her favor, Rebecca told me. She'd get roughly $480,000, you'd get $320,000. No. Sarah, I have to advise you that. Rebecca, I have 20 years of documented caregiving. I have proof she manipulated our mother. I have unpaid loans worth $200,000 with interest. And I have a family that now knows the truth and will testify to Jennifer's character. We're not settling for 40%. Rebecca smiled. I was hoping you'd say that. Let's push for 50-50, plus repayment of the loans from her portion. Let's do it. 2 weeks later, Jennifer called me directly. I almost didn't answer, but curiosity won. Sarah. Her voice was different. Tight. Scared. We need to talk. We have lawyers for that. Please. Just, please listen. She took a shaky breath. I'm drowning here. The legal fees are killing me. My marriage is falling apart because of the financial stress. My business is tanking. I need to sell the house, but I can't because of your injunction. Sounds like a lot of consequences for your choices. I'm sorry, okay? Is that what you want to hear? I'm sorry. But her voice was bitter, not sincere. I just thought. Mom and Dad always favored you. The devoted daughter. I thought for once I'd get something without you being the saint. They favored me? I almost laughed. Jennifer, you were always the golden child. The successful one. The one with the perfect life. A perfect life I couldn't afford, she snapped. Do you know what it's like to be constantly compared to your younger sister? Why can't you be more like Sarah? Sarah is so selfless. Sarah really cares about family. I was building a career, building a life, and all I heard about was how wonderful you were for staying home. So you decided to take everything from me? I decided to take what I deserved. Her voice cracked. You got their time. You got their last words, their last moments. You got to be the hero. All I got was distance and guilt. So yes, when I saw an opportunity to at least get the financial inheritance, I took it. By manipulating our mother when she was losing her mind. Silence. The family knows, Jennifer. Everyone knows what you did. You didn't just take my inheritance, you destroyed your own reputation. What do you want? She whispered. What will it take for you to drop this? I want a 50-50 split of the estate. I want the $200,000 in unpaid loans acknowledged and taken from your portion. And I want you to sign a statement admitting that you influenced Mom to change the will. That would leave me with almost nothing. Should have thought of that before you stole everything from me. She was crying now. Sarah, please. I have kids. I have a mortgage. I'll lose everything. For a moment, just a moment, I felt a flicker of the old Sarah. The one who sacrificed, who put others first, who would have backed down. But then I remembered 20 years. 20 years of my life, gone. 20 years of loneliness, exhaustion, and invisible labor. 20 years that Jennifer had dismissed as free rent. You'll survive, I said. You're good at that. You've been surviving off other people's sacrifices your whole life. Time to learn how to survive on your own. I hung up. The case went to mediation 8 months after I filed the contest. Jennifer looked terrible. Her designer clothes were gone, replaced with a simple blazer that had seen better days. Her hair needed a touch-up. She wouldn't meet my eyes. After 6 hours of negotiations, we reached a settlement. The estate would be split 50-50. Jennifer would acknowledge the unpaid loans in writing. The $200,000 would be considered an advance on her inheritance, reducing her share to roughly $200,000. My share would be approximately $400,000. The house would be sold, and we'd split the proceeds according to the settlement. Jennifer signed the papers without speaking to me. As she left the mediation office, her lawyer supporting her elbow, she finally looked at me. "I hope you're happy," she said. "I'm not happy," I replied honestly. "But I'm finally free." That was a year ago. I took my $400,000 and left the town where I'd spent my entire life. I moved to a small city in Colorado, somewhere no one knew me as the daughter who stayed. I bought a modest condo with a mountain view. I used part of the money to finally launch the graphic design business I dreamed of 20 years ago. It's small, but it's mine. I specialize in designs for nonprofits and small businesses, places where I feel like I'm making a real difference. I'm dating someone. His name is David, and he's a high school art teacher. He's kind and patient, and he doesn't expect me to sacrifice myself for him. We're taking things slow, which is exactly what I need. I started therapy to process everything, not just the inheritance battle, but the 20 years before it. The grief of a life unlived. The anger at being taken for granted. The complicated feelings about parents I loved but who still hurt me in the end. I joined a caregivers support group. I met other people who'd sacrificed years of their lives for aging parents. Many had similar stories of siblings who contributed nothing but expected everything. It helped to know I wasn't alone. It helped to hear other people say, "You weren't wrong to want more." Jennifer and I don't speak. I've heard through the family grapevine that she and her husband separated. She had to sell her house and downsize. Her real estate business folded. She moved in with her kids into a rental apartment. Part of me feels guilty about that. But a larger part of me remembers her voice on the phone, "Nobody forced you to stay." She was right about that. Nobody forced me. But nobody appreciated it, either. And when the time came to acknowledge my sacrifice, they erased it instead. I'm not sorry for fighting back. Last month, I got a letter from Jennifer. It was forwarded to my new address. Apparently she'd hired someone to find me. "Dear Sarah, I've been in therapy. My counselor suggested I write this letter as part of my healing process. You don't have to respond. I was wrong. I was cruel. I was so consumed by jealousy and my own insecurities that I couldn't see what you were really doing for Mom and Dad. I saw you as the favorite, but the truth is, you were the prisoner. You gave up everything, and instead of appreciating that, I resented you for it. I convinced myself I deserved the inheritance because I'd made something of my life. But I built that life on debt, borrowed money, and an image that wasn't real. You built your sacrifice on love, even if it came at too high a cost. I know you'll never forgive me. I don't deserve forgiveness. But I want you to know that you were right to fight. You were right to take back what was yours. And I'm sorry it took losing everything for me to see what I'd become. I hope you're happy now. Genuinely happy. You deserve that more than anyone. Jennifer. I read the letter 3 times. I cried. And then I put it in a drawer. Maybe someday I'll respond. Maybe someday I'll be ready to have a conversation about forgiveness and healing. But not today. Today, I'm sitting on my balcony, watching the sun set behind the mountains, drinking coffee from my favorite mug. I have a design project deadline tomorrow that I'm actually excited about. David is coming over for dinner. I'm meeting friends, real friends who know the real me, for brunch on Sunday. My life isn't perfect. I'm 43 years old, starting over in ways most people do in their 20s. I have moments of grief for the life I lost, the time I can never get back. But I also have something I didn't have before: freedom. Freedom from being the dutiful daughter. Freedom from sacrificing myself for people who wouldn't do the same. Freedom from being invisible while someone else takes credit. People sometimes ask if I regret fighting for the inheritance. They say I destroyed my relationship with my sister over money. But it was never about the money. It was about being seen. Being valued. being acknowledged for 20 years of invisible labor and selfless love. It was about looking at my sister, at everyone who'd taken me for granted, and saying, no more. You don't get to erase me. You don't get to take everything while giving nothing. You don't get to call my sacrifice free rent and walk away with everything I earned through blood, sweat, and tears. I took back my power. I took back my voice. I took back my life. And if that makes me selfish? If that makes me ungrateful? If that makes me the villain in Jennifer's story? I can live with that. Because for the first time in 20 years, I'm living for me. Sometimes, late at night, I think about my parents. I wonder what they would think about everything that happened. Would they be disappointed in me for fighting? Would they understand why I couldn't just accept being written out of their lives? I like to think that the real versions of them, before dementia, before manipulation, before decline, would understand. I like to think that they would see a daughter who loved them enough to sacrifice everything, and who finally loved herself enough to fight for what was right. But I'll never know for sure. What I do know is this: I'm not the same woman who stood in that house a year ago, frozen with shock and betrayal. That woman is gone. In her place is someone stronger. Someone who knows her worth. Someone who won't be taken advantage of ever again. Jennifer thought I was weak. She thought I'd spent 20 years being a doormat, and that I'd continue to be one. She forgot something important: just because someone is kind doesn't mean they're weak. Just because someone sacrifices doesn't mean they're a fool. And just because someone stays quiet doesn't mean they don't have a voice. I had a voice all along. I was just saving it for the moment it mattered most. And when I finally spoke, when I finally stood up and said enough, the whole world heard me. He thought he broke me. Instead, he built the woman I am today. Actually, no. That's not quite right. She thought she broke me. My sister, my own blood, thought she'd finally won. But here's what she, and everyone else, learned. I broke myself once by staying silent. But when I finally found my voice, I rebuilt myself into someone unbreakable. And that's the best revenge of all.